Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. Today we are watching a storm blow into Southern California, specifically Los Angeles. This back here is the channel between Los Angeles and Catalina Island. You can see in the background right about there. That's about 22 miles off the coast here. And, it's supposed to be springtime, but yet it has been chilly. I just got back from Dallas, Texas, and it was warmer in Dallas the whole time I was out there than it was in Los Angeles. Mostly drier too, for the most part. But anyway, we're having another El Nino year, which means we're more storms, more unpredictable. It made me thinking about the El Nino years that we had in the late 1980s. And yes, I'm dating myself with that. But I remember I was living just a couple blocks off the beach, and we had a storm in 1987 that was unbelievable. I believe it was 87. And the waves were so big that they were breaking over the building that's on the end of the pier in Manhattan Beach, and which means they were good 25-30 feet, which puts them at 40 plus on the face. Pretty impressive, huh? All night long I laid awake feeling the waves hit the beach, because every time they hit the beach, this is how big the waves were, every time they crashed on the beach, it shook the frame of the apartment building that I lived in at the time. And it's just it's just a duplex. So a small building. Wasn't like it was a massive, couple hundred people, but still 2 blocks away, rattled the windows, shook the frame of the house, and it made me think about the different cycles that happen in weather, in business, in life. And I just wanted to share some of this. This is a time of year when these, I don't know what they're unique to the area that we're hiking in. When they're in bloom, it smells great. But it just lasts for a few weeks. And it's another one of those cycles. That's an annual cycle. El Nino, that's a decade cycle or more. And where you're at in your business, in your life, what do you know from your experience, right? From your heart, from your experience about different cycles that you've watched repeat, that you are now aware of, you know how to respond to, so that you can coach and counsel your team on how to deal with those cycles. Learn from them, of course, but also to provide some perspective. And vacationing on the Great Lakes in Michigan as a kid, there's like a 40-year cycle on the water level on Lake Huron that goes up, and it can be 3 to 5 or even 6 feet from top highest to 6 feet up to 6 feet lower at the lowest. Watch that happen. In at first it was like, wow, is the lake draining out? I was a kid, right? I remember the water levels were really low. It came up, and some areas were over my head, even as an adult. Going off the end of the dock, the water level got so high that it was over my head off the end of the dock. Then it cycled back down to where it was below my waist, almost down to my knees. Big shift. And as a kid, it's like, what's going on with this? And I was able to learn from my parents, from the adults that have been through that, about the cycles, how to deal with them, what to be concerned about, what not to be concerned about. And like where rocks were exposed that we couldn't boat through, some areas we couldn't boat through anymore because there were shoals and rocks that were exposed on the low water cycles that made it impassable. Unless you wanted to rip part of your motor off or part of the bottom of your boat off, and then have at it. And some people did. But again, looking at the storm blowing in, and this is May, unusual for Los Angeles to have a rainstorm blowing in off the Pacific in May. Not unheard of. I mean, it happens, especially in an El Nino cycle, where we'll be seeing a lot bigger waves, a lot more extreme weather as part of that cycle. And I love it when you walk and talk with me here. So it comes back to the point being, what do you do to work with your team to share your knowledge, your experience of what you've learned from getting through different business cycles, through different periods in your business life cycle with customers? There's a rhythm to that. How are you learning from that? How are you coaching your team on that, so that they can take a deep breath and go, okay, here's some perspective on this. This is what to be worried about. This is what not to be worried about. To be able to say, hey, we've seen this before. Here's how we'll move forward. Here's what to watch for. And then to learn from them and incorporate the learning. So make use of after-action reviews, as our military friends do, right? AARs are golden. They'll help you learn. They'll help your organization learn. That's a bonus tip. Well, I'm Wolf. This is Wolf's Watch. Thanks for being part of the conversation, and I will see